Good morning. I'm Dr. Carolina Botha. I'm the academic coordinator for the Work Integrated Learning Program for the BEd, and you will hear the word Work Integrated Learning quite a lot during today and in your BEd program. But for today, I'm here to talk about something different. I have the privilege of talking to you about self-care, about adapting to this new reality that you are now a part of. So welcome. What an exciting journey you are just getting started on. I don't know whether you like roller coasters, but I love them. The up and down, your tummy in your throat, and almost falling, but then just scooping right back up again. And that is what you have signed up for, a roller coaster ride for the next 4 years of your life. And so our adventure begins. Or so we thought, because the world stood still. And the world is still standing still. And you might not be where you thought you would be at this stage. You might have thought you would be listening to me in the amphi of the Potchefstroom campus, or in the Bafokeng campus, or the Vaal campus, and now you're sitting at home. So before we get started, we need to address the elephant in the room. That massive disappointment that you are experiencing. That's fine. You should be disappointed. Your dreams have changed. Your plans look different. But here's the reality. You need to get over it. So deal with the disappointment. Deal with you not having RAG the way that you thought it would be. Deal with you not having orientation and a hostel experience and a first-year university experience that you expected. But then you realize that there's something else coming. Some sort of new adventure that no other first years have ever experienced. So in that way, you are really paving the way. Julle is die baanbrekers. Julle gaan vir ons wys hoe lyk dit om aanlyn eerstejaars te wees. En dit beteken nie dit gaan nie opwindend wees nie. So kom oor jou teleurstelling, kry jouself vir 'n rukkie jammer, maar dan embrace jy hierdie wonderlike nuwe geleentheid wat vir jou wag. It's still all about choices. If you were sitting in some sort of big venue now, I would be telling you that your first year is all about choices. And where you're sitting in your living room or in your own bedroom, it is still all about choices. And when you realize that, you realize the amazing power that you have to make a success of your first year or to become part of a national statistic that says that almost 70% of first years at tertiary institutions across the country do not finish their first year. I hope that you are planning to be part of the 30% by making the right choices. In this session, I'm going to chat to you about surviving and hopefully thriving. At some stages, you will really feel like you are not surviving, and at other stages, you might really feel that all is going well. But it's important that we talk about a survival guide for academics and for everything else. So let's start with academics. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it, so I'm just going to go over a few points very quickly. The first one is finding your digital feet. You will have to survive in a digital world now. Your reality is not going to be on time for class or to study for an exam where you sit in the Weet en Sweet lokaal with 1,000 other students and write the paper. You will have to digitally manage yourself in the year that lie ahead. So the first very important factor is that you access your NWU Google account. You are going to use that so many times to submit assignments, to access documents that are shared with you. So make sure that you know what your NWU Google account is. It is usually your student number at g.nwu.ac.za, but you will get good training in that. Make sure that you know that number. Do not change your email address halfway through the year, because then we have no idea of how to reach you. So the email address that you do have now, please keep on using that. Make sure that it is a Gmail account so that you have access to the Google Suite, which we will come to later. Your most important tool in your survival kit for this year is eFundi. Please do the eFundi training 3 times over so that you are so comfortable with this LMS system. The LMS is the learning management system we use at the NWU, and that is the link between your lecturers and yourself. All your assignments will be posted there, your marks will be posted there, you will submit all your work via eFundi, you will get notices and announcements from lecturers there. You need to access that platform every single day. If you are clever, you will set up your email account so that when a lecturer does send you an eFundi announcement, it comes to you as an email immediately. You need to be very comfortable with the managing and the working of eFundi. You are in a privileged position to have this training online so you can keep going back to it. So make sure that you know how eFundi works. Make sure that you know where to find your sites. Have contact details for each of your lecturers handy. You can't just pop into an office and ask a question or hang around after class to talk to a lecturer. So you really need to know how to contact them via email. You also need to be comfortable with Zoom and with Google Meets, which I believe most of you are already. Familiarize yourself with Zoom. Look at the background. If you are doing a Zoom session, I don't want you to lie on your bed and put on your camera and I can see your fluffed up pillow. Get yourself a professional background because you are now a professional person. So look at the background that you use. Don't put on those little nice backgrounds of you are on an island. We know you're not. Act like a professional. Make sure that you know technical skills. How do I take a Word document and I save it as a PDF? How do I edit a PDF document? You will see in the session on work integrated learning, I will show you some options of where you can get to learn these skills. You need to be very comfortable with Word. You need to be very comfortable with Excel. Guys, and I want to here really motivate you. If you are an Afrikaans speaking person, start trying to communicate in English more. The chance of you getting a job teaching in a pure Afrikaans school is getting less and less by the day. The world language of business is English. So start communicating in English. You will see that on eFundi, 90% of your announcements is going to come to you in English. So familiarize yourself with the language. Speak it. It's fine if you make mistakes. You will probably catch me making 20 grammar mistakes in this presentation. But you need to get your English up to par because the better it is, the better you prepare yourself for the future that lies await. Secondly, you need to understand your program and your modules. It is so important because we see it every year that fourth year B.Ed students come to us in tears because they missed a module somewhere and then there's no catching up. So you need to know the yearbook. You need to know exactly what modules you should have in your first year, your second, your third and your fourth. You need to know how modules follow up on each other. In your two majors, for example, you will have one major each semester in each year. So you need to have 8 major credits. You will also need to have 8 WIL modules. So make sure you know your program. I can quickly show you how a module code works because I remember when I started studying, that was so confusing. So if you look at the example I have on the slide, EDCC 117, always the first one will indicate the year. So you will now have all your modules starting with a 1. Next year, hopefully, all your modules will start with a 2. Except if you run into some trouble, then you might still have 1s, which we hope you won't. The second digit refers to the semester. So all your modules will now have a 1 for a second digit because it's first semester. Next semester, all your modules will be a first, a 1, and then second, a 2 because it's second semester. The third digit you do not need to worry about. That is for our administrative purposes. So make sure that all the modules that you have now registered for this semester has a 1 as a first digit and a 1 as a second digit. If you've already registered for the whole year, make sure you have the correct number of modules with a 2 for a second digit. You cannot have any modules with a 2 as a first digit. You will also hear a lot about notional hours. That's also a very confusing concept. If you open your eFundi page for a module, you will see it says notional hours 80. What does that mean? Notional hours is the amount of time that you have to spend on a module. That includes planning, reading, preparing for assignments, doing assignments, writing exams. So for an 8-credit module, you will need to spend through the semester 80 hours. You will see that modules have credits and they differ. Some modules are 8 credits, some are 12, some are even 16 credits. That tells you the intensity and the size of the module. So a 16-credit module will probably be a major or a year module. An 8-credit module will be a smaller module, but you still need to spend at least 80 hours in total. So that does not mean 2 hours before you have to submit an exam and 2 hours before you write an exam. So it's very important that you plan according to the size of the credits. And if you go and add it up, if you have 6 or 8 subjects and you add all those 80 and 120 hours, you get to quite a lot of hours for the year. Do not fall behind. I'm sure you hear this from everybody. And it's more difficult now because you are on your own. If you attended a class every week, I could every week tell you, you should be here now, you should be here now, you should be here now. Self-directed learning and blended learning and online learning and all these things that you are currently busy with are much more dependent on self-discipline. So you need to pace your own learning. So it's very important that you do not fall behind, because catching up is extremely difficult, especially when we come to the latter part of the semester where all your lecturers expect of you to hand in assignments at once. You will do a lot more work than you did at school. You need to realize that. So you cannot work at the same pace that you did when you were in matric. You are on your own. That's the reality. So make sure that you have a very strong academic support system. You need to have classmates, peers that you are in contact with, so that you can track each other's progress and see how you are doing. You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Yes, Wizard of Oz, we all saw that movie. Things are now different than they were at school. And the biggest difference used to be that lecturers are not that hands-on. You used to come into class, you got a lecturer, and you got a lecture and you left. Now we can even be less hands-on due to the digital nature of studying this year. So you need to stay in contact. As I sit here, I teach 4,000 students a semester. I can't know how every single one is doing. I would love to, but that is simply not possible. So you need to ask for help when you need it. You need to reach out to a lecturer. Many modules has tutors. They have supplementary instructors that you can ask for assistance. Please do use that, because nobody is going to ask you if you're okay. You need to say, I am not okay. The responsibility lies with you for the successful completion of this semester, this year, and eventually your degree. Don't just buy all new books, please. You will see that each lecturer will give you a list of books to buy. Just hang back. Use Facebook groups where they sell second-hand books that are still in a mint condition for very good prices. I'm sure they will introduce you to those. Use online notes. Many books are now available as ebooks because of the digital world we're living in. So rather get the ebook. Ask around. If you know somebody who's a year or two further in the program than you are, ask them, am I going to use this textbook that costs 1,000 Rand? Or am I just going to waste my mom and dad's money or my bursary money? So don't just go off and buy everything new. Just do your homework first. A big part of your academic picture is the online learning environment. So I would like to unpack that a little. The first thing is set up a workstation. You will remember that I spoke to you about the background for your Zoom. Where do you sit and work each day? Have you thought about this? Being a student is your full-time day job. Like your mom and dad leaves the house every morning, goes to work and comes back at 5. This is your day job. You should be considering it in such a manner. So set up a space where you can work. Take your laptop and before you even get started, organize it. create a folder for each module. In that folder, create subfolders, one for notes, one for assignments. Because if you just throw everything onto the big mountain of chaos, it is going to be chaos. I want to quickly explain to you how your brain works to link it to why I'm saying these things. Your brain works exactly like the file directory of your computer. So if I open it, I will see different folders. I will see an academics folder, I might see a rugby folder, I might see a my girlfriend folder. I will see many folders. And it's so important that when you start off with a task, that you open the correct folder. When you were in school, when you walked into the maths class, the maths teacher would ask one or two easy questions if they were a good teacher, and you would think, but I know these answers. That's not only to give you self-confidence for what's lying ahead, it was to open the correct file in your brain. Because your English file was still open, because you just came from the English class. So you have to close the English file and open the maths file. It's exactly the same for you now as online student. If you are busy with work on one module, that box should be open. That file should be open. You should close it and open the next module's box. Because what else is going to happen? If I am busy with my mathematics module and I place that content in the English box, when I have to do an assignment or write an exam, I'm going to look for the answers in the maths box. It's not going to be there because I stored it in the English box. And that is why we hear students saying, I drew a blank, or the answer's at the tip of my tongue, I just couldn't get it. So that's very important that you are organized, that you tell your brain, close this box, open the right one. If you are trying to do an assignment but you are much more concerned with the Pirates soccer game over the weekend, you're going to place the new knowledge that you learn now in your Pirates soccer folder, and it's not going to be accessible when you need it. So your brain needs to be as organized as your desktop of your computer. Does your desktop look like your room? Is it chaos? It needs to be structured. It needs to be organized. So it's important. Remember I said you're a professional now? That's the amazing thing. You are not becoming a teacher. You are a teacher. So act like the professional version of yourself. Treat Zoom classes like real classes. Attend them if you can live. Partake. Comment. Write in the chat box. Become part of the dynamics of what is happening. It is so easy, and I'm so guilty myself. I switch off the camera and I carry on with other things, or I'm on WhatsApp or Facebook, and I'm not really paying attention. What are you doing? Think about the boxes in your brain. That every fourth word that you hear that the lecturer is saying, you're putting in your WhatsApp and your Facebook box in your brain. You're not going to be able to access them when you need them. So be strict to yourself about the way that you deal with Zoom classes. I want to urge you to get a semester calendar. So it needs to have months up until end of July. Paste it in front of your workstation and add all your assignments to that. Because if you just deal with a paper diary, you don't know what's happening tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So how do you do planning? But if you have a calendar up on your wall and you can clearly see, Monday I have an assignment due, Wednesday I have 2 assignments due, Thursday I have an assignment due, that will definitely impact your planning. So put a calendar up on your wall so that you can see your whole semester. This will also help that you don't miss an assignment submission, which is going to cause a lot of great trouble. You are going to have a bottleneck. I can promise you that. May month is going to be tough because all the lecturers are going to want assignments submitted then. Don't wait till the very last moment. You just cause yourself a tremendous amount of stress. Last year, I had 4,000 students who had to submit an assignment on Ifundi. 75% of them submitted in the last 10 minutes before the assignment closed. What do you think will happen if Ifundi crashes? I'm just going to say, I'm so sorry, not my problem, which means not your marks. So don't wait till 5 minutes to 12 on the night before you have to submit. If something goes wrong, there's no second chances. Routine is your most important asset. Remember I said it's your day job? You had a very structured routine when you were at school. You had to leave home at this time, then you had school, then you had extracurriculars, you ate dinner at a certain time, you had to go to bed by a certain time probably. It's still so important to have a routine. Do not let the fact that you don't have a class timetable to stick to throw you. And I want to tell you that this is probably going to be one of your most difficult things to deal with, because nobody is going to look over your shoulder. And did you know that physiologically the last part of a person's brain that develops is his sense of responsibility and his skill to make responsible, selfless decisions? So you're battling against your brain here, because your brain is saying, I can sleep till 10 o'clock and I can work till 2 o'clock in the morning. You need to have a routine, because somewhere this is going to catch up with you. Work according to a schedule, even if you hate it. I'm very right brain orientated. I get bored extremely easy. If you tell me there's your diary for the day, I am immediately upset, because I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. But in the same sense, I'm a grown-up who has a job, so I didn't have that option. You are a professional with a job. You need to have a schedule. And again, remember who's responsible? You are. Rudolph Giuliani was the mayor of New York during 9/11, and he had a plaque on his desk that said, I'm responsible. Because he said, doesn't matter what happens in this massive city, I'm the mayor, I'm responsible. You are responsible for your academics. Not your mom or your dad or the bursary payer or the lecturer. Eventually, it will all come down to you. You need to get rid of excess energy. You need to exercise. Your brain cannot function optimally if you only sit behind a computer for 8 hours a day or for 15 hours a day. So make sure that somewhere you just go outside, just breathe fresh air. Just walk around the house and get a little bit of fresh air, or go for a jog or a gym. It's very important that you create distance from distractions. The first big distraction is the fridge. If you work from home, and I'm sure you'll know that from your end exam, it's easy to get up and saunter to the fridge to get something to snack on. That's first year syndrome, we call it. That I can't stay away from the fridge, or if I'm in a hostel, I can't stay away from cookies and biscuit late at night. The second distraction is your phone. I don't need to tell you this. You know this. Now, there's two types of distractions. If you tell me to put my phone down and do my work, I can do that. If you tell me put my phone in the other room and do my work, I am going to be so curious as to what's going on that phone that I'm not going to be able to concentrate. So you will know what you need to do. Do you need to put your phone far away from you? Or can it be in your close vicinity? I also want to talk about music. Is it fine to have music on while you're studying? Absolutely. It works for some people and it doesn't for others. Don't put headphones on with music right in your ears. The very clever scientist tells us that that's not a good idea. But if the music is a little bit away and it works for you, you can still concentrate. Feel free to do that. The punchline is that you know what works for you. This is not the first time that you have to study. It's the first time that you have to study as a first year, but the basic principle stays exactly the same. Here's the question. So you say, yeah, Dr. Botha, you say all these nice things. You don't know what my home looks like. I have 7 or 8 siblings. It's chaos in my home every day. We have 2 rooms where we all stay. How do you expect me to do these things? I hear you. And I first want to salute you for giving it a go. Because you know what? You are going to make it work. Not due to your circumstances, but regardless of your circumstances. So if you know that it's never quiet in your house, swap your days and nights around. Study at night. I know of students last year who actually sat by candlelight. They wrote their assignments with pen and paper. They borrowed a telephone to take pictures to send it via WhatsApp to lecturers because they didn't have a laptop, they didn't have a smartphone, but they chose not to be a victim. During that hard lockdown, level 5 lockdown, we had students who came to the university who sat around the perimeter of the fences to try and catch the Wi-Fi so that they could do their work. There's always an option if you choose to use it. So if your home is of such a manner that it's not conducive to studying during the day, you will get used to only 3 hours of sleep at night. But if you really want to do it, you will be able to. Take your books, walk away, go and sit in a veld a kilometer from your home where it's quiet. One of my students used to tell me that she would walk out 2 kilometers every morning. She'd sat in the sun for the whole day and do her work and come back in the evening. It can be done if you are willing to do the work. So look at your circumstances and see what will work and what won't work. And then you make it work with what you have available. Because it is possible. And you know what I've learned? Students who work in this way eventually becomes incredible teachers because they know what suffering is. Have you ever thought about reasons why kids didn't do homework when you were at school? Did you go for the easy option of, they just weren't in the mood? Or did you think that there might be more? That child had to help his little siblings last night and he didn't get around to doing his own homework? Did he have to cook dinner for the family, clean the house, maybe care for elderly parents or guardians? Was that child afraid as to what might happen at night, who might come in their door, so they never just went to sleep? Were they hungry? Were they tired? Those are all reasons children didn't do homework. If you are in a difficult position now, you're going to understand that. And you are going to be the empathetic teacher who can really, really make a difference. So don't see these as barriers. See them as opportunities. In the same sense, these difficulties are not going to go away by themselves. You are going to have to swallow your pride and ask for help. And that goes for students who have every resource you can think of. I can give you the most expensive laptop, the best webcam, the best, quietest circumstances to work in. If you struggle with understanding the work, you are in trouble. And you need to ask for help. You need to reach out. When we have live classes, I can look at the 300 students in front of me and I can sort of see confusion. I can see dimming lights. I can try to help. I can't do that if you are on the other side of a screen. So if you don't come to me and say, help please, or to a tutor or a mentor or a peer or an old teacher, if you don't ask for help, nobody's going to help you. And these difficulties are not going to go away. Are you probably not going to do so well in the first few assignments? Of course, it's life. But if the trouble persists, please reach out. Please ask for help. I'm sure that as part of this orientation program, you're going to hear about Ingryp, you're going to hear about academic support services. There's so many wonderful initiatives at the university that is set up to help you. But you need to put up your hand and say, I need it. Now that was academics. Let's get to the other stuff. The first one is dealing with isolation. You were probably so excited about being part of a hostel, being part of 300 students in a class. You need to now get that in other ways. So please make sure that you do make contact with your peers, with your classmates. Hopefully you will be in some sort of group for a group assignment. Get to know those guys. They can be sitting on the other side of the country. What a wonderful opportunity to create lifetime friendships. But you need to have people that you can ask, on what page are you with that textbook? Ooh, I'm only on page 6, you're on page 20, I'm in trouble, I need to start reading. You need to have people that you can benchmark your progress to. So do the effort to get to learn some of your classmates, get to know them. And here's a difficult thing that you don't want to hear, but what I have to say, you are not special. I know you were a big fish in a very small pond in matric, This is the grown-up world and things work a little different here. I deal with first years every year who comes to me with such an arrogant attitude that I'm not going to help you because you are not alone in your little world anymore. We have 12,000 B8 students. You are one of them. So when you do talk to a lecturer, don't assume that they know who you are, because they are not. But the way that you speak to them is probably going to make them remember your name if you do it in such a respectful, politeful manner. If I then receive another email, I'm going to think, oh, I know this name. Wait, this was such a respectful student. I'm going to pay attention. So you need to realize that because you don't have the affordance of seeing all the students together, it's easy to think that you are alone and that you might be a little bit more special than somebody in a town next over. That is so important when it comes to email etiquette. You cannot write to lecturers as you would write a WhatsApp to your friend. Hey, what's up? Literally. I need this. That's not the way it's done. So firstly, make sure of the title of the person you are writing to, because that's the first sign of respect. Is this a professor? Is it a doctor? Is it a Mr. or a Mrs.? If you are not sure, just stick to Mr. and Mrs. That's fine. Afrikaanse oukies, moet asseblief nie vir my e-pos skryf en sê goeiemôre tannie nie. You do that. Ja, I'm not your tannie. Address your lecturer in a respectful manner. Introduce yourself first. Good morning, Professor. I'm Carolina Botha. I'm a first year intermediate student. Then I have the context. You can't just write me an email, hi, I'm not Anifundi. And? Who are you? Now I have to take time to reply to your email. You have to reply back, and we're not off to a good start. So in the subject line of your email, write your student number and the module code. In the first line of your body of your email, introduce yourself to me. And then, as completely and comprehensively as you can, explain what you need help with. It's just going to make the response that you get so much easier. Please remember that lecturers deal with hundreds of emails a day. We didn't used to. I could hang around after class and 15 people could come and ask me a question, of which 5 wanted to know the same thing. Now I get 15 emails. So make sure that when I do get an email from you, I remember you because you are so respectful. Facebook follows you everywhere. Can you remember a while ago I told you that you are already a teacher? Do you know what happens when any fourth year student applies for a teaching position? The principal, if he doesn't know how, he'll ask his secretary, goes on Facebook. The minute your CV lands on a desk, and what do they see? Is that what if I could look at your Facebook profile now, would what I see speak of a professional, wonderful teacher? Or would it speak of a teenager in a very difficult phase in his life? And very often, the problem is not the photos that you post. It's those things that you get tagged in. And if I'm a principal and I do a placement, I'm not going to just check your final year at university. I'm going to go back 3 or 4 or 5 years. What am I going to see? The first time you go out for work integrated learning and you'll find yourself in a school classroom, do you know what the kids do? Facebook. Is what they see going to create an impression of a professional person standing in front of them? Or is that going to undermine your classroom discipline that you are going to work so hard at? So make sure that your reputation is intact. Because the reality, guys, is that it's so much easier to get a bad reputation than it is to get rid of one. And we see so many students who start off in their first year very roughly. And life is lekker and it's one party after the other. And then in their fourth year, when they want to portray a professional image, they can't because the damage has been done. And very often it leads to having to study for an extra year or 2 because as part of this party mode that you were in, you failed a few modules. You need to start living the values you one day want to teach right now. You're not going to become a teacher, you are a teacher. So you need to live those values. I would love to place in your head the little seed that one day when you graduate, you need to leave with more than a degree. You need to start building your CV in your first year already. You need to start doing training sessions now. I see it every year that we come to a fourth year and then they have nothing on their CV. They're not going to get appointed. So make sure that you are involved. Be involved in stuff greater than yourself. Get involved in your community. Start a folder on your desktop that says CV. And everything that you do from now on, save it there so that you have it when you need it. Your biggest challenge is the dynamic battle between freedom and responsibility. You don't have that structure and routine of going to school anymore. Probably you've had a conversation with your parents about, you can't be as strict with me because I'm now a student, I'm not a school learner anymore. You probably had a conversation about your curfew, about going out when you want, with whomever you want, because you're a grown-up now in the eyes of the world. What are you going to do with that freedom? Do you realize the responsibility that comes with it? Do you realize that every choice that you now make dictates your lifestyle? So every drink that you now take that's one too many is a little tick, negative tick next to your name in the type of teacher that you're one day going to be. Here's the tough thing. Look at that red little guy in that picture that says, why are teachers different? If you start teaching and your friend the lawyer, your friend the accountant, your friend who works as a cashier in Checkers does terrible things on a Friday evening in a small town, nobody's going to care. But if the teacher does it, you're going to be on the red carpet Monday morning because some parent are going to phone the principal. You cannot drink in a small bar on a Friday evening and expect to teach the kids who was there on Monday morning and expect them to respect you. The moment you made a choice to become a teacher, you made the same choice that a minister does, that a pastor does. You need to live according to a different set of values. That does not start once you start teaching. The moment you go out to your first work integrated learning school, you are going to be in direct contact with children. What are they going to see? Are they going to see somebody who still looks like a matric child, or are they going to see a professional person? You are ready for a wonderful challenge. There's going to be ups and downs on this roller coaster ride that you're on. But you have a lot more control than you think. You can control your choices. You can control your actions. You can control your structure. You can control your routine. You can control your environment. And in doing that, you are controlling your future. I just wish you the best. May you have a wonderful 4 years. I'm sure that I will, somewhere along the line, see your name in an email. And I hope that I will be impressed with that email that I see. I hope that you realize that you are not becoming a teacher. You are one. And that is one of the greatest privileges in the world. But it's also one of the greatest responsibilities. I want to end off with one of my favorite stories. Rita Pearson was an American teacher who understood children. And she gave mathematics to a group of 10-year-olds. And little Billy got 3 out of 20 for his math test. And when Mrs. Pearson marked his test, she knew she now had to write 3 out of 20 and it was going to break that little boy's spirit. You know what she did? She wrote +3 and she made a big smiley face. After class, Billy came and he said, "Ma'am, what's this smiley face thing?" And Rita Pearson said to him, "Billy, you didn't get them all wrong. You got 3 right. Isn't that wonderful? Won't you get 4 right next time?" I'm sure he did. Because, says Rita Pearson, -17 sucks the life right out of you. +3 says you're not all that bad. You're going to have minus 17 experiences in the next 4 years. You're going to have plus 3 experiences. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to deal with the kids that ends up in front of you with those experiences? You are a teacher. You make that choice. Good luck with your journey. What a tremendous privilege, but what a wonderful responsibility.